I never expected a single offhand comment about my blouse to become the catalyst for the most dramatic career pivot of my life. Yet there I was, hand trembling over the accept button on a tender to acquire Innovara Technologies, the very company where my boss, Greg Van Buren, had sneered at my wardrobe choice just 8 months earlier. It all started that gray January morning in the open plan office of Innovara, a mid-sized AI startup with big aspirations and even bigger egos. I'd arrived at 8:02 a.m., brewed my habitual double espresso, and settled into my cubicle on the 10th floor, one of 30 analysts on the product intelligence team. We wore jeans and branded hoodies by design. This was, after all, Silicon Valley, where technical chops mattered more than cufflinks. That day, I'd pulled on a crisp white shirt, sharp collar, slight tailoring, and dark charcoal trousers because I'd landed a practice presentation before the executive team. I'd rehearsed for hours, refining slide transitions and bullet point pacing, determined to prove that our voice recognition model had the edge over the competition. I'd meant to impress. Moments after I clicked through my final slide, Greg, the department VP, swiveled in his chair. He peered over his triple-wide monitor, one eyebrow arched so high it threatened to escape his forehead. "Nice shirt, Carrie," he said in that slow, judgmental drawl. "Trying out for the corner office? Might want to dress more professional from now on. Hoodies and jeans are fine for coding monkeys, but let's keep client-facing folks looking the part, okay?" The laughter that rippled across the conference room was subtle, but I felt it cut as sharply as any blade. My face burned. I kept my smile in place and said, "Understood," voice steady. I finished my meeting moderately well by all accounts, but the rest of the morning felt like walking through a hall of mirrors. Every reflection in every glossy screen seemed to grin at the irony. Here I was, the only one who'd bothered to elevate her attire, being told I didn't belong. That evening, I met my best friend and flatmate Dana at our favorite ramen spot in Mountain View. The neon steam rose between us as I recounted Greg's comment. "He literally told me I'm too dressed up," I said, slurping noodles. "He wants me in hoodies like everyone else, except he's the one with the clients. It's not about the clothes, it's about control." Dana, a marketing director at a competing startup, nodded with fierce sympathy. "He underestimated you, Carrie. You're way more than a hoodie." I exhaled, staring at my chopsticks. "I need him to eat his words." She grinned. "Then make him watch you ascend from hoodies to hoodwink him." Her pun hung in the air, but the idea lodged in my mind. Maybe I didn't have to prove myself in the cubicle farm. If I could take control of Innovara itself, if I could own the place where his title meant power, then Greg's petty diktats would be moot. At 2 a.m, after texting half my network of angel investors and sketching out spreadsheets on my whiteboard, I collapsed into bed. My head buzzed with possibilities: option pools, venture debt, management buyouts. I'd grown up in a family of small business owners. I'd watched my father negotiate his bakery's modest expansion. Maybe I could apply those lessons here. Over the next weeks, I slipped into stealth mode. By day, I maintained my persona: intelligent, diligent, eager. I volunteered for cross-functional committees, dug into the quarterly reports, and used every all-hands Q&A to ask pointed questions about growth strategy and paths to profitability. Greg watched me with wary interest. By night, I became a sponge for finance literature: balance sheets, cap tables, shareholder agreements. I cold emailed Innovara's CFO, who graciously agreed to answer my beginner questions about EBITDA and debt covenants. I joined a startup founders roundtable where CEO peers dissected management buyouts. I realized Innovara's seed round investors were locked in until a Series C event or buyout. A path opened if I could fund an acquisition-led recapitalization. I could wrest control from public shareholders and insiders alike. Next, I approached 3 trusted friends who'd been colleagues at previous ventures. Dana, now a CMO candidate at a hot software unicorn. My father's business partner, a retired banker, and a mentor from my executive MBA program. Over coffee and spreadsheets, we structured a special purpose vehicle, Jaguar Capital, pooling $3 million in equity and securing a $2 million line of credit against projected cash flows. It wasn't the entire purchase price, but enough for a controlling interest if combined with warrants and a tender offer. I spent days hacking through Innovara's proxy statements, SEC filings, and the company's convertible note terms. I discovered the exit clause for the Series A investors, a mandatory put if a single party acquired more than 51% of common shares. I sharpened my strategy: quietly buy shares on the internal trading platform, employees and early investors sell shares to pay taxes or mortgages, sometimes at a discount. Accumulate interest until my SPV hit 52%. Then invoke the put, force the private takeover, replace the board, and assume the CEO's seat. Voila! I'd bought the company. Every night, I tallied share purchases, 3%, 6%, 12%. Greg never noticed. When I passed 25%, a sharp-eyed investor texted congratulatory but cryptic warnings. You're close. Keep momentum under wraps. My pulse raced. By month's end, I held 30%. At 40%, I warned my SPV partners. We're going in for the kill. They wired the last capital tranche. My screen read 51, 2% of Innovara common acquired. On the morning of the board meeting, I arrived past sunrise. My Uber dropped me at the side entrance. The guard gave me a surprised look. Nobody had ever entered from that door in a driverless Tesla cab. I flashed my keycard, now reprogrammed with interim CEO privileges, and strode through the empty lobby. Security cameras followed my reflection like curious beetles. At 9 I entered the boardroom. The table was set for 10 empty chairs, water pitchers, the carved Innovara logo glowing on the polished surface. Greg was already seated, his tie loosened in anticipation of a keynote speech. He looked triumphant. As he rose to speak, "Today I want to share our roadmap." I stood behind his chair. He froze mid-sentence. "Good morning, everyone," I began, voice firm, amplified by new authority. "I'm Caroline Reyes, CEO of Innovara Technologies." They stared. As of last night, Jaguar Capital holds a majority of common stock. Under the bylaws, I've called this emergency board meeting to enact immediate leadership changes. Motion passed 8-2. I removed Greg's nameplate and slid my own into place. Caroline Reyes, Chief Executive Officer. I then tapped a button on the conference table. The side doors opened, and 2 security guards escorted Greg, still clutching his notes, to the lobby. An hour later, in the same hall where he'd ever mocked my clothes, Greg called to me from the front doors, once proud, now humbled. I paused on the staircase, untouched blazer, tailored slacks, heels clicking on marble. "You can't do this," he spat. Guests and employees had gathered to watch the coup unfold on screens. Low murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Did you see? She just fired him mid-meeting." I met his glare calmly. "I not only can do this, I did. Innovara is mine now." I pointed to the lobby screens, where Jaguar Capital's press release detailed the buyout, my vision statement, the new leadership team. "You told me to dress more professional." "I did. I ran circles around you, outworked you, and bought the company. Your tenure ends today." He's fire engine red. He splutters. I turn and descend the marble staircase. Every step a statement. Cameras click. Employees cheer. The new board members stand to congratulate me. Outside, the sun breaks through clouds, painting the steel towers gold. I inhale the crisp air. My phone buzzes with texts. "Congratulations, CEO. We're investing in your board. Dress code, boardroom." I smile as I look down at my tailored suit. Professional never looked so vindicating. And as I step into my new office, once Greg's corner office, I press send on an email to all staff. From Caroline Reyes, CEO. Subject: Welcome to Innovara 2.0. Thank you for your trust. We're about to embark on a bold new chapter. Let's dress for success, in strategy and in spirit. Together we will transform AI ethics, build products that empower, and show the world what truly professional leadership looks like. I hit send, then swivel in Greg's old leather chair, letting the traction of a perfect suit cradle me. I've dressed more professional. Indeed, and I've ensured that at Innovara, no one will ever underestimate the power of ambition neatly tailored. The moment the boardroom doors clicked shut behind Greg Van Buren, a hush fell over Innovara's 10th floor. Employees pressed against the glass walls, eyes wide. Some clapped, others muttered under their breath. I gave them a confident nod, then turned toward my new executive team, Dana as CMO, Ravi as CFO, and my father, now COO, in their sharply tailored suits. They looked energized, ready for Revolution 2.0. I cleared my throat. Thank you all for gathering on such short notice. I know this was unexpected, but change is exactly what Innovara needs. Today, we begin our 5-point plan for growth, culture, and ethical AI leadership. I clicked the remote. The first slide appeared, 5 Pillars of Innovara 2.0. The points flashed in bold text: talent empowerment, eliminate rigid dress codes, launch Own Your Style, stipend, product transparency, open source components of our voice, AI engine, community-led audits, customer-first roadmap, bi-weekly call sessions, real-time feature voting, ethics council, independent steering committee, with external advisors, growth with integrity, sustainable margins, no shady pivots, clear compensation guidelines. I looked up. First, talent empowerment. Starting today, you will no longer see me in a suit unless I'm on camera, because professionalism is about skill, not style. We're launching a 6-month stipend. Spend up to $1,000 tailoring your wardrobe or tech gear for your role. I want you to feel authentic here. A murmur of approval swept the room. Dana leaned in, whispering, "Best corporate move ever." I moved to the next slide. Second, product transparency. We confront AI bias head-on. Today we open source parts of our natural speech engine. This will be pilot tested by partner universities and nonprofits, who can audit and suggest improvements. Let's prove ethical AI isn't a buzzword, it's our differentiator. The developers in the back, once reticent, began nodding vigorously. I felt the energy shift, from skepticism to excitement. Over the next 2 hours, we fleshed out each pillar in detail. I watched as the room transformed from a war council into a hive of optimistic collaboration. Scribbles of inclusion and accountability dotted the whiteboards. When we adjourned, the hallways buzzed with plans for hackathons, diversity workshops, and friendly debate. That afternoon, I slipped into Greg's old office, now mine, and dialed the head of our largest client, MedSpeech Inc. The senior VP, Dr. Faulkner, had expressed reservations about Innovara's roadmap under our old leadership. He picked up on the second ring. "Carrie, wow, I saw the announcement," he said. "I have to say, that transparency pillar really caught my eye. Open sourcing parts of natural speech. That's brave." I smiled into the phone. "We believe in partnership, not lock-in. Let's schedule a joint workshop next week. I'd like your feedback before our public release." He chuckled. "You're going to win over the skeptics. Count me in." He hung up, and I exhaled, adrenaline coursing. In the days that followed, Innovara felt like a start-up again. We held town halls where anyone could propose features. Hackathons sprung up in the coding bay. My inbox overflowed with suggestions from interns who'd never dared speak up under Greg's reign. At a late night, Open Street Pizza and AI ethics meetup, I found myself cheering as a junior data scientist, demoed a real-time bias detection dashboard. One evening, I caught 2 engineers tucked behind a server rack, intense voices low. I approached quietly. "Hey, appreciate the energy. What's going on?" They straightened, sheepish. "We built a prototype voice filter that flags harmful stereotypes, preemptively mutes them. It was just for fun." I grinned. "Brilliant. Let's put it in the integration sprint Monday. Your contribution will be a headline feature." Their faces lit with disbelief and pride. I realized empowerment was contagious. A month in, Innovara's stock tickers, still private but valued by our investors, crept upward. Our open source code drew academic praise. The press covered Innovara's Dress for Confidence stipend as a case study in modern workplace culture. We partnered with 3 leading universities to co-author an ethical voice AI white paper. I appeared on a virtual panel with the CTO of a Fortune 500 firm, arguing passionately about responsible innovation. Amid the whirlwind, I received a terse voicemail from Greg. "You've made a mess of everything. We'll see how long you can keep this charade up." I deleted it without a second thought. His threats tasted of sour grapes. Yet, not everything was smooth sailing. At our quarterly advisory board, one investor, the notoriously blunt Marissa Cho, leaned forward. "Carrie, this open source move is admirable, but how do you protect our IP? Competitors could rip off our models overnight." I anticipated the question. We engage the community, learn from them, and innovate faster. Our commercial edge comes from proprietary enhancements, premium APIs, and unparalleled support. Transparency fosters trust and adoption, and that drives a larger market share. She tapped her pen, impressed despite herself. "That's convincing. I'll hold on to my shares." Outside, I exhaled. Each success was a small victory over doubt, from Greg's condescension to the investor's skepticism. Meanwhile, Greg's own fate unraveled. Rumors surfaced that he'd tried to poach employees with renegade work from paradise, offers luring them to his new gig at a rival fintech. But the team loyalty I'd cultivated ran deep. When Greg's old HR director, now part of Innovara 2.0, sent out the retirement email, Greg Van Buren resigns effective immediately. No one mourned. He showed up at the office one morning, briefcase in hand, eyes wild, demanding to speak to me. I wasn't there. I was on stage at a Women in Tech Summit, addressing 600 people. My keynote, Authenticity over Avarice, Building Cultures That Last. I spoke about vulnerability, empowerment, and the courage to dress for your identity. The audience erupted into a standing ovation. Afterward, I glanced at my phone. Missed call from Greg. I ignored it. On my 39th birthday, Inavara threw me a surprise party in the rooftop garden. Colleagues from every department, engineering, sales, HR, legal, lined up with cupcakes and fedoras sporting tiny LEDs. The CTO, Ravi, presented me with a custom hoodie emblazoned CEO, professional on my own terms. I laughed as they draped it over my shoulders. Then Dana called for a toast. To the only CEO who told us to be true to ourselves and built a company that does the same. Here's to building the future, one professional at a time. Glasses clinked, cheers echoed against the stars, and I felt a swell of gratitude. That night, after the laughter died down, I slipped away to the rooftop edge. The twinkling city lights sprawled below, and the real world, once gray and stifling, glowed with promise. My phone buzzed with a message from my mentor, Dr. Nguyen. Proud of you. Inavara is a beacon now. I tapped back. Thanks, you ignited the spark. A final text arrived from an unknown number. Plan B terminated. Good luck in your next chapter. I smiled. Plan B had been Greg's codename for his buyback attempt. It had failed along with him. My next chapter was beginning now. I unzipped the hoodie, revealing my signature crisp white shirt. No dress code can ever dictate confidence again. I rolled up my sleeves, ready for tomorrow's challenges. Scaling global expansion, launching our ethical AI consortium, maybe even writing a book on leadership. As the wind teased the LEDs on my hoodie, I whispered to the night sky, dress for who you are, and then go out and build it. And with that, I turned and walked back into Inavara's future, on my own professional terms.